Hello. Um, so today I want to talk about emotions and emotional debt. So I was reading Mark Manson's book, Everything is Fucked, and a big section of the book, it's a great book, by the way, suggests for anybody kind of interested in self help or like personal philosophy. It's a great read. Any of his books are, but um, a lot of a big section of the book that he talks about is emotional debt. So, emotional debt is a weird concept in the way that it looks at your emotions as not something that is, quote, bad thing, but objectively. Looks at your emotions as an objective thing, an objective feature of your own human nature. As humans, we're very crude in our, system for emotions, and it's very animalistic. Throughout history, we kind of needed these feelings of emotion or sadness to kind of direct us for survival and for reproduction. But now, like, what? We're fucking advanced and shit. We don't, like, emotions are primitive. They're a very primitive thing that, we deal with. But they're there for a reason. As an individual, everybody has their own emotions, everybody has their own feelings. And it is important to remember that those feelings are there for a purpose and those feelings should not be ignored. You as an individual have a moral right to look after yourself first. And, the concept of selfishness, especially with empaths, is difficult because, some people feel as though they should put others first, which I think is inherently wrong and inherently immoral. You know, so what Mark talks about in the book is this concept of emotional debt. And, he explains it in an example of like an altercation with a friend or a relationship or just a random person. And these altercations obviously come up to the on the day to day, right? But let's just say in this example that somebody hits you. Somebody comes up to you in the middle of the street randomly, and they hit you right in the face. You're gonna have an initial emotional reaction from that, which is a subconscious thing. So when things like this happen, you're going to have a reaction. There's going to be an emotional debt that is created towards this person. It is important to deal with this debt as it comes because of a couple reasons. But these initial emotions that you're going to feel are going to be like an anger, a frustration. You're maybe going to want to hit this person back or yell at them or do something bad to them or confront them on it and ask them why. And you know you as an individual, if you sit there and you allow those things and you allow yourself to take on that pain and you don't relieve your own emotional debt, it's going to linger. That emotional debt is going to stay, after this situation. And it's going to set an emotional precedent for how you as an individual should be treated in the future. So this can come through as many things, negative self-talk is the first. I can, attend to that. But another would be, you know, future situations where somebody does something towards you that is inherently wrong in your or you feel as inherently wrong in your own nature, you're going to accept that as, I deserve this. I feel as though this is something that I deserve. And when those emotional debts pop up, they need to be dealt with. In a relationship, for example, if your girlfriend, for example, does something that upsets you or does something that makes you uncomfortable in a way, if you don't solve that emotional debt with her, you aren't going to let it down. There's going to be a fracture in that relationship. And, that is also setting a precedent for how you feel you should be treated in the future, and even with future relationships. So, yeah. The concept of emotions as being labeled bad, or feelings, or these quote bad feelings is wrong, I think. And I think that, I don't know where this has come from in our society, I guess, but I think that we as people should look at our emotions and use them as a tool, accept that kind of animalistic nature that they come with. I'm spitting because I got a Zen. One thing that's kind of difficult about emotions as well, especially, for me as a Catholic, is accepting the nature of, this animalistic nature that we have as humans. Religious sin and religious guilt are really difficult concepts, especially, for more traditional practicing religions. And it's hard because, you're taught that these animalistic, these human natures are inherently wrong. And that's something that I definitely struggle with in religion, is that being taught that your own emotions and your own feelings are bad. Anyways, yeah, us as humans, it's hard. It's hard to, look at your own feelings and think that something is wrong with them. And, those feelings are there for a reason. And I think that, us as people should look after our feelings more often. Feelings pop up for a reason. They're never there for nothing. And by looking at why they come up when they do, and accepting that they are there to protect you in this kind of survivalist attitude, they really set it sets a great standard for accepting your emotions and moving forward when bad things do pop up. A big Stoic value that I like to practice is, similar to Mark Manson's idea about emotional debt, is that, if you do something bad, or you feel a certain type of way, or you feel a certain type of sadness, you feel it once. Once that emotional debt is paid, there's no more purpose for the feeling. If you do something bad, you hurt someone's feelings. Often I find that I'll get in times when I'll hurt someone's feelings, not necessarily on purpose, and feel guilty. Once those feelings pop up, accept them. Accept the feelings as they are. And don't feel them again. It's so difficult to kind of accept feelings as negative feelings, or to kind of let go of past issues or wrongs, maybe over embarrassment or different things. But when those feelings do pop up, it's important to kind of practice a sort of precedent, even towards yourself. Do you deserve as an individual to feel something, to feel a certain guilt or a sadness towards something more than once? Once that emotional debt is paid, why feel it again? Why give more? But yeah, emotions are difficult. Another thing, when looking at emotions too, there are multiple levels. Emotions are a collection of past experiences included with what's bringing up the emotion at the time. So by looking at your emotions, as these labeling words like anxiety or sadness or depression, your anxiety might not be the same collection of feelings that my anxiety is. And by looking at, going deeper into those ideas of what is my anxiety made of. So, for example, you could say your anxiety is made up of maybe a guilt or a antisocial nature or a embarrassment, compared to somebody else whose anxiety may be based off of like a fear or a I don't know. So when you look at these emotions as they kind of come on, it's difficult to understand them unless you're looking at sort of the underlying nature of these things. Your experiences aren't something that just go away or something that just disappear. And it's difficult to kind of get into situations, especially as you collect more experience, as something that just is. When you experience something and it sets off these kinds of emotions, subconsciously you're tapping into that emotional precedent. What do you deserve? How have you been treated in the past? How have you stood up for yourself in the past? These are all things that come into play when you do feel things like this. So, yeah, I just wanted to talk about that today. I hope that everybody has a great evening, and yeah, stay prayed up. Love you, dog.